You're on the road beyond. Welcome. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we're live from the HCC TV studios with some of the most interesting content you'll see on the internet today.
That is very true.
My co-host Doug O'Brien here with me.
Make sure you like, follow, share, comment, thumbs up, heart, emoji.
Yeah, you got it.
At the Road Beyond podcast. I never remember how many things you can do.
You can do it all.
Just interact.
Yeah,
with
just do that. That's all we
Please.
have. And by the way, I was talking to Sari, one of our guests, and she was saying, make sure you tell your audience that you guys can, you can comment on this show.
Right.
And we'll answer your questions. If you have a question about one of the broadcasts or something that we do, make sure you DM us or comment on the show, and we'll certainly get back to you.
Yeah, we always check. I always go through and check. So please let us know. And if you want to notice that today we did not wear the same clothes. You made such a fuss last week.
Well, I mean, every time I wear a nice damn jacket, you're wearing the same jacket.
And I almost wore my denim jacket, but
you told me you didn't have a regular denim jacket.
No, I do have a regular denim jacket. I have every kind of jacket. You never know. Like I went with my 80s.
So you should watch each week just to see. Yeah. Today he's taking us back to the 80s.
Yeah, I've gone 80s. I don't have a members only jacket like this.
Do you have one of the red ones like the Michael Jackson?
No, I refuse to do that. I might have some parachute pants.
Oh, there we go.
We'll say it. I even wore the checkerboard jewelry. I go all out, man.
You're going.
I plan these things.
Back to the 80s.
Yes.
It's been a big week. There's been a lot going on in the news out there. JFK files. Well, once again, they've been released, but these are the most encompassing ones.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of it was redacted, and then that got opened up. So we got a lot more, which I don't know, to me, raises more questions than answers.
A lot more questions. Yeah, you got a lot more to unpack. We're going to talk about that in the second segment. We got a guest joining us for that as well. But some crazy stuff coming out of Egypt. I mean,
this whole thing. Okay, I've been waiting all week and weekend to talk about this because it's fascinating, from the technology to the possible discovery.
Right.
I don't know.
All we know is there's something going on out there, because new radar scans suggest the presence of massive megastructures beneath Giza's second pyramid, including deep spiraling cylindrical formations reaching nearly 2,000 feet.
Think about that for a second. 2,000 feet, nearly half a mile.
I mean, we're talking,
right?
I mean, some of these are compared to like that size of the largest, that big building in Abu Dhabi.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're taller than that.
8 large tubular wells. All right. Now just picture this, right? 8 large tubular wells connected to 2 underground cubic chambers. Here's an artist rendering of it. And they may have once supported an advanced complex subterranean network. Now, let me ask you, do you think this is real? Do you think this is accurate?
I think there's something under there. I mean, there's been speculation. I mean, even Edgar Cayce, the famous prophet, the sleeping prophet, he had an interesting prediction. Cayce's reading said that Atlantis was destroyed around 10,500 BC. We know there was a major flood around that time, and all scientific data points to that. He says the Atlantean refugees brought civilization to Egypt, constructing the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx within the century or so that follows. Of course, the Egyptians are saying, no, that's not the way we said it was done. But there's a lot more to this.
There is. Now, I have questions about, first of all, the technology. Yeah. All right. This is brand new technology that uses a satellite, and they had highly colorized readings from it. It uses seismic activity to then give them what they consider images. Also, the paper and everything that was released was not peer reviewed. Yeah. So it hasn't had a chance to really be investigated. And lastly, no major networks really retweeted it or broadcast it.
That's because they're too busy covering current political events. Come on, man. You know what cable news is for?
I don't know. I am suspect. I do agree with you. There is something there. I don't know if it's this vast chamber half a mile down.
I think there's something there.
Yes, I agree.
I think there's something there. There's more to be told. It's just weird because every time they find something underground in Egypt around the pyramid, the Egyptians, led by that one guy who walks around, he wears the hat, he's in TV shows.
Yes, I know you're talking about.
He'll go around and he'll just deny it and then just not allow him to discover. Why are you terrified of getting below the pyramid and just finding out if there's something there,
Well, that's the real key, is it's going to take more excavation.
Yeah.
It's really going to take, now we have little micro cameras that are the size of these wires.
But they don't want to allow them to do that.
That's the problem. The more you try to hide something, then the more everyone's suspect.
Well, I think, and this goes into let's look at the big picture here.
Right.
Okay. It's being proven day by day, especially if you look into, I believe Graham Hancock's a great author, talks about civilization being a lot older than we're told. So if civilization, like mankind, could have been around when the dinosaurs are around, there are some signs that may have happened. Then why isn't the regular academia or archaeologists wanting to accept this?
That I don't know. That's a good question.
Kind of like the Egyptians, because it negates everything they've tried. Their whole life's work gets thrown out the window.
That's the problem, is that everything your whole society and your history is based upon is now having to be rewritten. They have discovered new skeletons. They used to think that the pyramids were just for the elite, right? For the pharaohs and for the highborn. They have now found by measuring the distance of what the tendons would be in the muscles and the bones, that people that were high laborers are also now buried there. So we are getting some small discoveries. This one, though, there's, of course, that one group that also thinks these could be fueling
well, they were talking about it being a power generator,
right?
Yeah. And that's one of the things they're talking about, being a power generator, and they've talked about that for a while now. Yeah.
Do you believe in the aliens? How was it built? Do you believe in all of that?
Well, I don't think we really know how it was built. We're told it was built by Egyptians, and they're using technology available then. And that at one point they were saying these were enslaved workers.
Right.
Now it's saying that these are very highly paid, highly skilled workers who were hired to do this.
I would say highly motivated.
Highly motivated,
because Bill
I'm here.
Die, But, I don't know. I still am suspect of the technology they use. I want it to be peer reviewed. I want to make sure the technology they use is correct.
Yeah.
And then let's also excavate and look and see what's there.
I think there's going to be a lot more to that. And I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe you're going to get some new. The only thing we can hope for will be the powers that be in Egyptian society now, especially the ones over the archaeological digs, will take on a new era of discovery one day.
Well,
they'll start letting people there to do some studying that isn't vetted by the Egyptian government, because they want you to believe one certain thing.
Like anything else, it's going to take new blood.
Yeah.
You got to wait for the old guard to die off and for new people to come in who really do want to make a discovery and get the accurate depiction. We know there were people there before the Egyptians. There are pre-Egyptian societies. So it makes sense. Some theorize that what they're seeing may not be these giant rods, but yet caverns. Because Egyptians were known to build their pyramids on sacred places, and caves were sacred to them. So who knows? It is fascinating, not only from the technological standpoint, but also from the pre-Egyptian standpoint, what was there before.
If we had a major advanced civilization before 10,500, we know there was a massive flood that happened at that time. Let's think of what happened if we lose the power grid and technology here for, say, a year, 10 years, 20 years. We're going to go back in time, folks, and you aren't going to find, maybe we'll be able to save some data, but what happens if the cloud goes down?
Well, and that's a great way to look at it, is not, if people put their pride aside, and really look at it, there could be some interesting mathematics and technology that could benefit us today. We could see another, a second technological boom like we had in the 50s and on. We could see it again, depending on what's there.
You found the technology they had in Atlantis. They had half of what was believed.
It's just mind-blowing, not only what could be there, but the fact that people, such stalwarts against learning anything new. And that's the part that's really kind of heartbreaking in all of this.
Well, speaking of learning something new, we've got new discoveries, shall we say, with the John F. Kennedy assassination. New files released just recently. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got a guest who's going to break this down with us.
I can't wait. This is going to be good.
All right. We'll be back in 60 seconds with the Road Beyond podcast.
When I grow up, I want to work in a lab to build robots.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
Things could be stranger, but I don't know how. I'm going through changes now. Could spend a lifetime trying to figure it out. I'm going through changes, through all of the strangeness. I'm going through changes now.
Where's your emergency?
Welcome back to the Road Beyond podcast. Not only a big week for Egypt, but a big week for history buffs and conspiracy theorists.
That's right. A more encompassing version of the JFK files were released by the government, while the more than 88,000 documents may contain new information, much of which may pose more questions than answers. So who actually killed JFK? A lot of folks out there may have wanted to kill him on that sunny morning in Dallas, Texas on November 28th, 1963. The recently released files provide a wide array of possibilities, including Russia, Cuba, the mob, the CIA, and possibly then Vice President Lyndon Baines Johnson.
What about Lee Harvey Oswald? Is he the man?
He's always thought to be the lone gunman, Doug. Take a look at this. Interesting film. This is the Zapruder, the famous Zapruder film,
yes,
which for many years was not only scrubbed off the internet, not many people can take, and you're going to see slowed down. I'm telling you, the guy pulls out a gun. Secret Service agent reaches down, pulls out a gun, and appears to shoot John F. Kennedy from the front. So we know there was the shot from the back.
Yeah.
That's there's been speculation it came from a grassy knoll. But did the CIA do this? The Secret Service? Who knows?
Now, I do think, personally, I'm not a conspiracy guy,
right?
But I do think the government was involved.
There's been a lot of
nobody like JFK that, unless you were a true blue social democrat, everybody else had a problem with JFK.
He certainly was an instrument or wanted to make change.
But I don't see a gun. I don't see a gun with the Secret Service agent.
Well, let's ask our guest. We brought in John Moretta, who is a professor here at Houston Community College, also author of the book, The Hippies. John, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Well, we're going to start with you. I know you wanted to tell us a bit about Kennedy's tenure, but first off, what are your thoughts towards the Zapruder film that we just showed a piece of?
Oh, I think it has merit, has value, but like everything else with JFK's assassination, you really have to dig much deeper than most people are willing to do or have done. And there's a lot of the conspiracy theories just swirl and swirl and swirl. And they have since the late 60s. To make a point to discuss what Doug said about JFK being a social democrat, far from it, Doug, I'm sorry.
All right, enlighten me.
He was at best a cautious, hesitant liberal.
Okay.
All you have to do is look at his legislative record, his New Frontier, his caution, a president who was always looking over his shoulder. And
well, now I said that social democrats loved him. Everybody else didn't. So it was
social democrats did not love him. Traditional liberals embraced him.
Okay.
Yeah. No, if you look at his legislative record, like I said, there's a great misnomer about Kennedy's, quote, greatness. What I hate to say this, but as an historian, I have to. What made John F. Kennedy in the top 10, it was his assassination.
Yeah.
There was a promise there. There was a great promise. And he had legislation in Congress, in the House, but it was going nowhere. And if you look at his election victory, 110,000 popular votes. That's not a popular mandate, not even close.
Would you say that LBJ and what he did after Kennedy's death is what made Kennedy, quote unquote, a great president?
Yes. And LBJ was a clever enough, manipulative enough politician. If you go back and, for example, listen to LBJ's speech introducing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, he opens his delivery with saying, what better way to pay tribute to our late, great, dead president than to pass his civil rights bill?
Yeah.
Right.
That was not Kennedy's civil rights bill. It was stalled in committee by the time of his death.
John, everything I've read is that one thing Kennedy did was he really had ticked off just about everyone there could be during his presidency, but particularly his wanting getting rid of the Federal Reserve Bank. And then also he wanted to dismantle the CIA. Now there's speculation that CIA had Oswald was a CIA asset. These files kind of point to that fact, and they certainly were well aware of him before that day in November of 1963.
Sure. If you look at the CIA, when Alice Dulles, I'll give you a historical background. You may find this interesting or boring as hell. JFK kept a lot of Republicans within his cabinet. Like Douglas Dillon, Secretary of the Treasury, and others. He wanted the best and the brightest, regardless of party affiliation, which was what FDR did. Dulles was a carryover from the Eisenhower administration. He was John Foster Dulles' brother. John Foster Dulles was Secretary of State, very powerful Secretary of State. Eisenhower was a great delegator. It was beginning with Dulles' reign at the CIA that the CIA became more than an intelligence gathering agency. It became responsible for covert operations, the overthrow of governments.
Well, the Bay of Pigs.
Precisely.
JFK was against that, from what I understand, and they were also pushing for a war with Russia, which he apparently was communicating with Khrushchev off the books by letters.
No, that's kind of a myth. That's kind of a myth. I hate to say that, but relative to the Bay of Pigs was a huge mistake for Kennedy. We should have never sanctioned that. He knew nothing about it until the CIA dropped it in his lap in April of 61. And if you're president of the United States and you know nothing about this kind of covert operation to overthrow a government, you should never sanction it.
Yeah.
Kennedy got politically greedy. Here you are, you win by 110,000 votes. You were accused by Nixon of being soft on communism. What better way to claim a real quick victory than to overthrow Castro?
Yeah.
And so he sanctioned that, but what he didn't sanction was the air support. This really pissed off the CIA because that was all part of the grand plan. This was a plan that Richard Nixon hatched. Eisenhower had nothing to do with it. He's on his way out. Nixon wanted this kind of operation so he could come. It was supposed to be pulled off before the election in 1960, but it wasn't. And Nixon had hoped to use that Bay of Pigs, overthrow Castro, as a wonderful campaign platform. And it didn't happen. So Kennedy authorized it. After the invasion, Kennedy felt betrayed by the CIA and purged the CIA.
What about the CIA connection with Kennedy's assassination with John Garrett Underhill? Now, he's a military officer that claimed a group of rogue CIA operatives were responsible, but then later he was found shot to death in his apartment and it was ruled suicide. Any facts there? Any possibilities?
No, sure, there's a possibility because, like I said, JFK greatly alienated, purged the CIA after the Bay of Pigs, and then more recent to his death in October of 63, 1 month before he's killed, he purged the CIA again for the Diem debacle in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Well, here's my theory, and I want to hear what you think of it.
Sure.
I do believe it was militarily based, if you believe the grassy knoll.
Yeah.
All right. Because if you look at where they claim the shots come from, it is triangularly set up. There's a shot from behind, a shot from this side, and a shot from this side. So no one gets shot. It's a triangle offense, if you will. Is there any possibility of that?
Oh, of course there is. If you look at the bullet that really decisively kills Kennedy is the one that goes through his forehead, the shot from the grassy knoll, blows off the back of his head. That's impossible to do if it's Oswald in the book depository shooting from that distance. There's no way.
Let me ask you this, John, and we've only got about a minute left, unfortunately, but from what you've seen of these newest files released, did it give you any meat to change direction with what you've been thinking all along?
Oh, no, not really. I mean, a lot of the information is divulging people's social security numbers, for God's sake. But which is like, okay, fine. No, I mean, historians have long debated this forever. And it was a conspiracy of sorts. What I wrestle with is who were the conspirators? Was it the CIA? The mob? No. The mob was no longer on his radar. Bobby was the attorney general. He had shift focus to Jimmy Hoffa and that aspect of organized crime. Fidel, no. Fidel's not stupid. And no. So to me, if there are any conspirators, it would have to be ex-CIA wet boys, as we call them. And guys responsible for DM, the guys responsible for the Bay of Pigs, the renegades, which the CIA hires all the time to do their dirty work.
But real quick, one word answer. Will we ever know?
In our lifetimes, you and I, the three of us, no.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
in our children's lifetimes, maybe.
Okay.
Or grandchildren's.
A lot more to unpack. John Moretta has a book out called The Hippies. And I know, John, you got a new book coming out next year?
I do. It's coming out in late fall, 2025. I did a study of the various sociocultural elements that made Austin, the weird Austin, weird Austin. And it's a fascinating study. I got to interview all the people who were great players that were around then. And it comes out, Bloomsbury is publishing it. It'll be out in the fall of 2025.
We'll look forward to hearing from you, John. When that book gets out, we want to get you back on the show.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime.
Thanks, John. John Moretta, author and historian and instructor here at HCC. Great. Interesting stuff, but like I said, I don't think we're ever going to know the full truth of it. One thing I did know, we've got a late breaking news story coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we need to take a commercial break. When we come back, bare necessities in breaking news.
When I grow up, I want to work in a hospital.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
You or me?
I thought it was you.
Oh, that's your name.
Oh, okay. Welcome back to the Road Beyond podcast.
Thank goodness rehearsal goes so well. It's time for bare necessities. This is a good one that we all can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, how many times you've been at a national park and you just sit down and have lunch with a bear? And we're not playing the audio for a reason in this because the woman's just cussing, going, "What in the, you know, what is going on here?"
What I heard about this clip, that the bear literally strolled up while they were having their lunch, and they just decided to not move.
Yeah,
which is probably a smart idea, but still,
the bear said, "Hey, I'll be eating some of that."
Can you imagine just a bear strolling up?
Well, you notice they're all men, I believe, here. Okay. Take a look at this next video. The title of it is Why Women Live Longer. It's the nice little story of a dude who likes to dress up in animal costumes and antagonize animals. Like real tigers and lions dressed up as a lion.
Oh my.
And he starts jacking around with the real thing.
What?
Yeah. And then the lion says, "I've had enough of this." So yeah.
Now I see why.
And it chases him up a tree.
I see why most women think we're stupid.
Yeah.
Because this is what they see as representatives of us.
That's why women live longer. Yeah.
I totally believe that. There is actually a theory behind that men, especially when we're younger, we do take more risks, climb out of trees, jump off of ledges.
Put on lion suits and go antagonize
I don't know about that.
lions.
I don't think that's a regular guy. He's a little special, I think.
We were able, earlier during the show, we were talking about some breaking news on Egypt, the structures under the pyramid.
Yeah.
Don't know what they were, but we were talking about who could have built the pyramids.
Right.
We just found proof from our, we have a bureau in Egypt for the show.
No, really?
Yeah, and they sent us.
Know that.
They found something attached to one of the pyramids. This picture
like hieroglyphics?
Here. Yeah, look, there you go. The builder of the pyramid.
That
Bigfoot.
makes perfect sense. Yeah. He could carry the big blocks. Right. He doesn't need to get paid much.
No.
And he really stays back out of the way. So
he's got a brand name too.
Really?
Yeah, Bigfoot. Yeah.
Well, true.
He's a well-known.
I was waiting for a joke.
No jokes.
Straightforward.
Straight stuff.
I like it. That's very interesting.
So far we've discovered stuff with the pyramids. We found out who killed JFK. And now we've wrapped up the show with who built the pyramids.
And by the way, we are of all sound mind and body. And just in case the government comes calling, we plan on being here next week.
Yeah, we plan on being here next week. Thanks for being here this week. I'm Todd Duplantis.
I'm Doug O'Brien.
We'll see you next time.